So in this first lecture, we're going to cover FEA theory and the core concept. So basically, finite element analysis is one of the most powerful engineering tools that is used to predict how the design will behave under the real-world conditions when we apply forces, pressure, heat, or vibrations. So FEA is based on dividing up geometry, as you can see here, into a finite number of small elements. And each of these elements is mathematically defined by nodes. And then we calculate, actually software calculates displacement, stress, or strain in these nodes, as you can see here on this photo. And these elements are connected then to form a mesh, which collectively represents the behavior of the entire model. So this is the first step when we use finite element analysis, is to create a mesh to define these nodes. Then once we have nodes, then we have external loads and the boundary conditions, right? So we have to apply now specific loads and specific conditions, right? We want to simulate real world conditions as much as possible. And then based on this, software formulates a system of equations derived from three laws of physics. And this is equilibrium. That means all forces and moments in the system must balance. Then we have compatibility, which is connected elements must deform consistently at shared nodes. And then we have constitutive relationships, and this is related to material properties like Young's modulus and Poisson ratio, and this determines how stress relates to a strain. And then these equations are solved numerically to approximate how the structure responds. So instead of just trying to solve one massive complex structure analytically, which is probably impossible for real parts, FEA solves thousands of small, simple problems, and then together create accurate global solution. As you can see on this photo, right, we have the solution, different colors, which represents different level of stress, displacement, or strain in the model. So the theoretical framework allows engineers then to visualize the internal behavior of their design, identifying the stress concentrations, deformation patterns, and weak points that are not visible with traditional design workflow, right? That's the reason why we use FEA. And FEA then bridges the gap between design and the real-world performance, enabling engineers to validate, optimize, and improve their products long before production begins. So finite element analysis is not a separate process from design. It's an integral part of the engineering workflow that bridges the gap between concept, validation, and optimization. As you can see on this photo here, we have your concept, then we have design, simulate, and then based on this, we optimize and we validate, right? So this is how FEA fits into the design workflow. Now let's break this down into details. So in a professional environment, FEA begins long before a product is finalized. It starts during the conceptual design phase when early simulations help engineers evaluate different design ideas quickly without the need for physical prototypes, right? So at this stage, it's not focused on the precision, right? We don't want to go into the specific details, but it's on the understanding feasibility, right? Whether this is feasible or not. So we ask the questions, can this part withstand expected loads? Are there critical stress zones that require geometry changes? Can material usage be reduced while maintaining strength? As the design evolves, FEA transitions into the detailed design phase where geometry, materials, and loading conditions are defined more accurately. So here, simulations guides iterative improvement, helping engineers make data-driven designs decisions such as reducing mass while keeping stiffness, adjusting fillet radii to reduce stress concentration, reinforcing thin regions, or adding grips for support. So once the design reaches maturity, FEA then becomes the part of the design validation phase. And this is where final load cases, boundary conditions, manufacturing constraints are tested. So these steps ensures the design meets safety factors, performance standards, and customer requirements before manufacturing begins. And then after validation, simulation continues to add value through optimization. This is where we have fine-tuning geometry or material selections to balance performance, cost, and manufacturability. And this is where the advanced studies are done, like fatigue, thermal, and vibration analysis. So in modern engineering practice, this workflow is iterative. Designers and analysts collaborate continuously, modeling, simulating, reviewing, and refining until the best balance between form, function, and factorability is achieved. So by integrating FEA early and continuously in the design process, engineers save time, they reduce cost, deliver products that are both reliable and efficient. So the whole goal here to understand is that FEA is not something that we do once we finalize the product. This is something that we use through the entire design process, right? So we start with some rough FEA analysis just to see if this is feasible or not. But then as the design progresses, we start more with fine tuning, right? More with details. So basically, this is how FEA feeds the design workflow. It's very important to know that every FEA result is only approximation of reality. So it depends on how accurately you represent the real world conditions inside your model geometry, material properties, boundary conditions, loads, and mesh quality, right? So as you can see here, these are the things that we define. What kind of mesh we're going to use, and what kind of size of the mesh we're going to use, elements, boundary conditions, those are all things, material properties, those are all things that we decide, right? So this is just approximation. Now, one of the biggest limitation comes to simplified assumptions. So we often assume linear material behavior because FEA is based on the linear material behavior, small deformations, or ideal constraints, even though real components might experience nonlinear effects such as plasticity, contact friction, or large deflection. So these assumptions help us to reduce computation time, make it much simpler, but they can also lead to deviations from real-world performance. Another major factor, as I mentioned, is mesh density and element type. So we can define the mesh density and the type of the element. So coarse mesh can miss local stress concentrations, while overly fine mesh, small elements, right, can produce misleadingly high stresses at sharp corners or contacts. So the goal is not just to have the smallest elements, but is to have the right elements in the right places through the mesh, right? So that means that we will have to use different sizes of the elements on different parts of the model. And accuracy is also influenced by boundary conditions, right? How you fix your model, what kind of load you apply on your model, right? And incorrectly constraining a part or over restricting its movement can completely change how forces distribute through the structure. So, in other words, the quality of your setup defines the quality of your results. So, to use FEA effectively, engineers must balance between realism and practicality because you rarely have perfect data. But through engineering judgment, understanding materials, manufacturing tolerances, and load cases, you can decide what simplifications are acceptable. So the bottom line is FEA doesn't give you the truth, it gives you a numerical prediction. And it's your responsibility as the engineer to interpret it correctly. By recognizing limits, you'll know when to trust your results, when to question them, and when to validate through physical testing, right? So the quality of the FEA results depends a lot on you, right? How much you understand material properties, how much you understand a real world environment so you can simulate, for example, boundary conditions and the forces loads on your model. And the more accurately that is, then results will be more accurate. And also you define the mesh, right? What's going to be the mesh density, but also types of the elements. Those are all of your choices. So based on these choices, the results will vary.